everybody, it's your boy Moski, back with another video. Today's video is a reaction video to The Last of Us Episode 4, full breakdown, ending explained. Sorry for the late upload, I've been busy with life, but I knew I had to get this video up before Friday because the new episode of Last of Us Episode 5 comes out tomorrow. So I'm like, shoot, I gotta upload the Episode 4 breakdown before I go to Episode 5. Before it comes out, basically. And the reason why it's coming out so early because of the NFL Super Bowl. Everyone's gonna be busy with that, so that's why they're gonna release it Friday. But when the episode 5 drops, I'm definitely gonna still drop another video, either be Friday or this Saturday, like a day later, basically. But so now let's focus on episode 4, the full breakdown and ending explained. So hopefully enjoy my reaction.
Put your seatbelt on.
Here we go.
Are we gonna help him?
No.
Yeah, this scene right here particularly is literally straight from the video game. That was awesome. I love that part. A lot of scenes from this particular episode was from the game, like shot from
Welcome
shot.
back, everyone. It's
I
Charlie.
love
This
that.
will be my full Last of Us Episode 4 video. There were a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references. They introduced a bunch of big characters from the games and some new characters that weren't on the games.
Yeah, there were some new
down.
characters I
If
did
you're
not know
brand
who
new
they
to the
were.
channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. We're doing
I'm glad I
a
wasn't
giveaway
the
for
only
HBO
one.
Max
I was like,
subscriptions.
I'll
All you have
remember
to
them
do
from the
is enter
game.
is be a subscriber and just post your favorite moments from the episode in the comments. Careful for spoilers from the episode. If you haven't seen it yet, we'll start at the beginning, work our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs and WTF moments, starting with the episode title, Please Hold My Hand, which is a reference to the Hank Williams song that Ellie finds in Bill's stuff and they play during the car trip. The scene is taken directly from the video game, as are many of the scenes in their lines of dialogue
Yes, a
during
lot
the
of
episode.
scenes and dialogue.
This make you all nostalgic?
I love that. That was
Actually
pretty cool.
before my time.
I'm happy that they're staying somewhat true to the game.
Winter though.
I love
Make you all
that.
nostalgic?
This is actually before my time.
Right.
It's a winter though.
But they did move around a few things during the episode from when they happened during the game. The title, Please Hold My Hand, are actually lyrics taken from the song. The actual song's name is Alone and Forsaken, and it's meant to be a metaphor for everything that's happening during the series, everything that's happened to their characters. The lyrics of the song talk about pastures were green, the meadows were gold, but her love, like the leaves, have now withered and gone. A metaphor for the downfall of humanity, the world decaying now. Metaphorically, it also refers to Joel and Ellie's previous relationships, like Joel and Tess, because she's gone now. Ellie's previous relationship with Riley, who is also gone now. There were a couple big references to Riley in this episode that I'll mention when we get to those parts of the episode. We got a little bit more of Ellie's backstory, but like she's slowly teasing it out, like they're slowly opening up to each other about each of their histories. The lyrics of the song are also a metaphor about their developing relationship too. If you hear me, please, Lord, hold my hand, like Joel taking care of Ellie the way he would take care of his daughter. But both of them relying on each other for help. Like Ellie literally helps him in the episode, and Joel also
Yeah, that
needs
scene
a
right
bit
there
of
was a cool
emotional
scene right
help,
there.
so
I
to
loved
speak.
it.
Like,
Straight
they
from
both
the
start
video game.
emotionally supporting each
Awesome.
other. In reality, he needs her just as much as she needs him. They haven't been changing the opening theme titles as far as I can tell. I've already talked a little bit about the imagery during them in my previous episode videos. The actual opening scene is of Ellie in the gas stop, fantasizing, practicing with Bill's gun that she
She's
took.
almost like
pretending
a
to be
psycho
badass.
killer,
She's in
don't
for a
you
rude
think?
awakening, having to kill another person in cold blood, not just simple infected or killing someone is the immediate threat that they might kill her. Even though she does hint to Joel that she's killed someone before, that's a reference to Riley. You can tell that she's still trying to toughen up and learn how to handle the emotional weight of what comes with using a gun. We start to see more of their relationship developing with Ellie's book of puns during the episode. They're all very much in the tone of dad humor level jokes. Really dumb dad humor, even though at first he's still very reluctant to get close to
His
her.
face
He
is
keeps
like,
wearing
why?
down his emotional defenses through the episode with the puns and all the trauma that they experience with the hunters as well. Until the end of the episode, when he genuinely laughs with her at the puns like a dad would. The actual book that she's holding, Livingston's Book of Puns, is directly from the games. It's in The Last of Us Left Behind. Ellie and Riley found the book, No Puns Intended 2, TOO, while they were at the amusement park. And during their car trip in the game, she also reads him the puns from the book like she does here in the episode. Their relationship is very complicated. It's not simply a little girl idolizing a new father figure. When she starts to learn more about Joel's backstory, she learns how complicated he is, about the terrible things that he's done in his past. One of the big themes of The Last of Us, the games and the show, is forgiveness in general. Like Joel is seeking forgiveness, redemption in what he's doing with Ellie. But you get a better sense for their dynamic together. They start to feel more like a father-daughter pair as she begins to make fun of him for not knowing how a siphon works, like not knowing the science behind it. Also messing with him in the car in a playful way. The whole gas station
Joel
scene,
is
overnight
opening
camping
up even
scene
more
are
now
not
in
from the
this
games.
episode.
In the games, they just
Like, now
simply
they're
drive away
actually
after Bill
bonding.
gives them the car, stopping at the
'Cause Joel,
roadblock
at first he
before they
didn't want to
encounter
be
the
with,
hunters.
like, you know, next
The
to
other
her.
big change
He
is
didn't
that
wanna
the
have, like,
hunters they
resemblance
encounter
of,
were
like,
in
as his
Pittsburgh,
daughter.
not in Kansas City like on the show.
But
for the
I'm
most
happy
part,
that
all the
it's like the
moments that
video
they have
game.
in the
He's
car, the
opening up more.
dialogue are
I
taken
like that.
directly from the game. When Joel is explaining why all their damaged cars are on the road look like that, he talks about the military's tanks plowing the roads clean. How she'll see one of the tanks soon is a reference to a short while later in the episode, down the road, where they pass a bunch of abandoned military vehicles, and Joel talks about how the military was designed to fight the wrong enemy. Because the military was designed to fight other countries, and the real enemy was the fungus, and the military were relatively ineffective against it, which is why you see all the abandoned vehicles on the road. See how much use they were in fighting the fungus. The tape of Hank Williams that Ellie pulls out of the back seat and their dialogue directly from the game, but the Hank Williams song didn't start playing in the game until they got stopped by the hunters, as opposed to the show where they listened to it right at the beginning here. Joel having to explain who Hank Williams is because Ellie has absolutely no idea because she was born after the apocalypse started. She just thinks of Joel as another old because he seems like an old man to her. Really, he's in his 50s, and the song itself was written by Hank Williams in 1948, long before Joel was born. They also used this particular Hank Williams song in a bunch of the trailers for the series. The dirty magazine that Ellie finds in Bill's backseat
That was
is
straight
also
from the
right out of the game.
video
It's the
game- video
exact
game,
same
yeah.
version of the magazine. It's like a fictional
It's
magazine.
like same
they created for
dialogue,
the
I think,
game.
as well.
Light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa!
As is their dialogue when she starts messing with him and he freaks out not knowing how to answer her when she asks why the pages are stuck together. He's not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. As Joel explains, the reason why the livestock are alive here in the Midwest is because it's too remote for the infected to live here. Because of the way the fungus mutated, it tends to congregate around the population centers. And because of that, the real danger out here in this part of the country isn't the fungus.
That guy on the
it's
left right
other
there that you
people.
see,
Rogue bands
that's the
living
actually
outside
voice
the
actor for
quarantine zone,
Joel.
There are many of them of different sizes, all meant to foreshadow
It
their
would've been
conflict
cool if
with
he
the
was
hunters,
actually
like
Joel, you know,
terrible
playing as
people
him.
who would do things far worse than just trying to steal
that'd
their
be pretty
stuff.
cool. But
And it's a long trip
I
after
guess,
they make
you
it
know,
through Kansas City, so like it's just the beginning of
Pedro
them running
Pascal will
into
take over, I
really
guess.
dangerous small groups on the way. The reason why Joel is so wary of them, and just during the episode in general, especially when they get inside Kansas City, as he tells Ellie, is because he used to be one of the hunters when he was first traveling
yeah,
from
her right
Boston
there, I
to
don't know
Boston
who she
quarantine zone
is.
with his
She's a
brother
new
and
character to
Tess.
me.
That's what he and Tess
probably
meant
to everyone
earlier when they
else.
said that they weren't good people, because all the messed up stuff you see the hunters doing in the episode, they did that too to survive. Although Joel does say that he was only with the hunters because his brother joined them and he wanted to keep an eye on his brother. So yes, he did do terrible things and killed people in cold blood. Like later in the episode when Ellie asks him, did you kill people in cold blood? He doesn't answer her. Obviously the answer was meant to be yes. Like she took the meaning from his silence to be yes. But they want to make it feel more complex. Like he wasn't doing that. He wasn't being violent because he wanted to for violence sake. He was doing it just because he was trying to protect his brother. During the early leg of their drive here, the bridge that they pass over isn't meant to be the bridge from Pittsburgh in the game, but it is a reference to that bridge. In the game, their escape from Pittsburgh is a bridge which is heavily guarded by the hunters. They pass an Arby's sign paying off Bill's Arby's joke from episode 3 when he first met Frank in his trap. Arby's, the brand in real life, got in on the joke after the episode aired too with their own social
We
media
are a
posts.
restaurant.
Every time I see Arby's jokes, all I can think of is that Simpsons
That's funny.
joke. I'm
They
so
got in
hungry,
the joke
I
of
could
Last
eat
of
it at
Us.
Arby's.
That's hilarious.
The reason Joel pulls the car into the woods and won't let Ellie have a fire is to prevent those other potential people
I'm
from
guessing
finding
the
them,
company
killing
watched
them,
the show too.
eating them, doing all kinds of terrible things to them. They bond over their enjoyment of Hank Williams and Chef Boyardee ravioli, like he slowly starts to agree with her and enjoy things that she does, which is part of their arc in the episode, the puns, them getting closer by the end of the episode. You also start to get a sense for Joel's sense of humor. Like, he does have a sense of humor even though he isn't a very jokey type of person. When he makes fun of Bill by saying that the nice-smelling sleeping bag must have been Frank's, and him knowing the answer to the pun. Now, he doesn't know it because he read the book. It's just because it's really dumb and easy to figure out. But while this is all going on, he's still kind of having PTSD flashbacks to his daughter. Like, he's starting to feel that same energy, the same vibe that he felt when he was with his daughter. That's why he's so reluctant to get close to Ellie,
Yeah,
even
that's
at
true.
this point. He doesn't want to emotionally open himself up to another person yet, just because he assumes the worst is going to happen. But through the episode, she slowly begins to wear him down, and they start to open up to each other. The next morning, when she starts complaining about the smell of coffee, that's also taken from a conversation in the game that happens later when they're inside an abandoned coffee shop in Pittsburgh on the run from the hunters. But the dialogue, the jokes are meant to be similar from the one in the game.
Oh, this place stinks.
Woods all rotten.
Did you go to coffee shops a lot?
I did. All the time.
And what would you get?
Just coffee.
When he slurps the coffee to mess with her, that's also him showing his own sense of humor again, just the dad humor that he has. Joel begins explaining his brother Tommy and their relative backstory. Tommy is the younger brother who Joel has felt responsible
I can't wait
for
for
their
that
entire
episode
life.
when we
And
see
even
him,
though
too.
they disagree,
He's a
like
good
Joel
character.
disapproved of him joining all these different groups over his life. The military, the hunters, then the fireflies, then whatever's going on with him now that he's trying to figure out. He still feels responsible for him, wants to protect him because of his belief that family is the most important thing in the apocalypse. He and Tess weren't married or anything like that, but they were together as a couple for so long that he considered her family, whereas Ellie, as he says right here in the episode, at least at this early point, is not family. She's still just an obligation in his eyes. But slowly that's beginning to change. What happened to Tommy is that after the initial fungus spread in 2003, Tommy joined the group of hunters that were heading to Boston. Joel joined with him to keep an eye on him. Along the way, he met Tess, and while that was happening on their journey to Boston, they did all these crazy things that you see the hunters do in the episode, trapping people, killing innocent people, stealing their stuff just to survive. All the dark things that he's still having trouble telling Ellie about, like, yeah, I definitely did kill a whole bunch of innocent people. But the whole idea is that during that time, Joel didn't enjoy what they were doing, like he didn't relish in hurting innocent people, and he left the first chance he got with Tess. While that was happening, Tommy found Marlene, and she won him over to the Fireflies in their quote-unquote grand quest to save the world, as Joel talks about it, which he thinks is completely misguided. The Fireflies' actual plan is to also overthrow the Fedra military and install civilian government more akin to what society used to be like before the apocalypse, thinking they do a much better job of administrating life in the apocalypse, and also at the same time developing a vaccine. That's really where the quote-unquote save the world comes from, and where Ellie gets involved in the story. But eventually, Tommy grows disillusioned with them. It's implied that he was also having to do terrible things while he was with them, because the whole idea is that the Fireflies, even though they seem like a really good group, do things that are just as bad as Fedra and as the Hunters. Morally speaking, pretty much everyone on the show are just shades of gray. Like, no one is truly good or truly evil. Eventually, Tommy leaves the
Everyone has to do
Fireflies,
what they have
and
to
that's
survive,
where
you
Joel
know?
lost contact with him and why he's going to Wyoming to find out what happened to him. His whole conversation with Ellie about
Every time
what
I see
really
the actor
matters
that's
in
playing
life,
Tommy,
why
I
it's
just think about
important to
Terminator,
continue
'cause
living,
he played
is
as
also really important for their whole arc in the series, just in general. More specifically, it foreshadows some of the controversial decisions that Joel will make regarding Ellie towards the end of the first game, and what will probably be the end of Season 1. Like, I believe they're meant to cover all the first game during Season 1. When he eventually does start to think of
Really?
her
I thought
as
they're gonna
family,
freaking,
as
like,
his
try to,
surrogate
you know,
daughter. Like, in
expand
this
it.
conversation, he's letting Ellie know in no uncertain terms, family is the most important thing, more important than anything, more important than the rest of the human race. So remember that. It's like the core of his being. It informs every decision that he makes. Even all the terrible stuff he was forced to do while he was still with the Hunters a long time ago, he was doing it in the name of keeping his family, Tommy, safe. Right now, Ellie, who just barely experienced all this, she's so young, is looking for a reason to continue. Like, what is the point of living if it's going to be like this? And Joel's just telling him, you continue because of family. I'm sure there's a Fast and Furious meme in here somewhere. Like, Joel will
Yeah, fucking, why is there a
eventually say
car
the
in the
word
middle of the
family
freaking
almost as many
lane?
times as Vin Diesel says the word family. When they cleared the roadblock, all this is generally the same as the game,
That's
but they made the
hilarious.
big change from Pittsburgh to Kansas City in the episode. The Hunters are meant to be a rogue faction in the game, like the Fireflies, who seek to establish their own dominance over
I wonder
Fedra.
why she's
the
in
Hunters
power,
also
though.
want to get rid of Fedra
Like,
as well,
what-
but they
what
have
makes
their
her
own
in
idea
charge?
of what order
What
is
what
in
does
the
she do?
apocalypse. Within the context of the
Because right now I
story,
don't see nothing
the Hunters
of her being,
overthrew
like,
the
you know,
Fedra
being the
authority
leader.
in Kansas City and Pittsburgh in the
Hopefully they
game,
expand
and
on
just
that.
continued to rule the city with an iron fist, killing outsiders that would come along for their supplies. They set up this massive roadblock here at the tunnel as an elaborate trap, forcing outsiders to enter the city where it'd be easier to kill them and take their stuff. They have these roadblocks in all the entrances and exits to the city. That's why when they're entering the city, the camera pans across that burned pile of skeletons. Those are bodies of regular people, not infected, that the hunters had previously killed like they tried to do to Joel and Ellie here. The scene of the hunter pretending to be hurt to get them out of the car is right out of the game. The reason why Joel knows immediately that it's a trap is because he was one of them and would have done the exact same thing in this situation.
You gonna help him?
Yep.
Your seatbelt
Literally
on
exact same thing from the friggin'
What about
game.
the guy?
He ain't even hurt.
There are only a couple of hunters that they deal
Yep.
with at this
That was
trap
pretty.
here,
As soon as
but
I
they
watched
have traps
it
like this all
from this
over the
episode, I was
city.
like,
Their
"This is
group relatively
straight from the
large.
video game.
It's
This
going
is
to show you how they
awesome."
control all access in and out of the city. Their whole mission here is to escape the city. They're going to have to do this again, like escape through another group of hunters to get out. This whole encounter here is meant to be more about Ellie, though, saving Joel and using Bill's gun, and proving to Joel that she herself could do it. One, she was capable of being useful, and two, she also deserved to have a gun. She almost enjoys this moment here, too, pulling the trigger, but that's when the hunter's back was turned, when she didn't have to face him directly. You can see her moment of hesitation when he turns around and starts the sob story to get her to stop. When she talked about having to kill someone before, like this isn't her first time, that time was also very different from what's happening here. It was still super traumatic, but she absolutely had to do it. It was sort of a fight or flight kind of thing. This time, she's in no immediate danger, and it's more her killing someone in cold blood, which she talks to Joel about later. She isn't able to kill someone in cold blood, yet. That's also a big part of her arc, too,
Yet.
like the way that she deals with surviving in the apocalypse, like the terrible things
That's
that
funny.
you have to do in order to survive. Joel, on the other hand, obviously no problem killing people for any reason, even though in this case it's totally warranted. Like that hunter definitely would have either informed on them or continued to try and kill Joel and Ellie after the fact. The reason that he uses the hunter's knife to finish the job is just pure resource management. As Bill said in episode 3, it's all about resource management in the apocalypse. Conserve your bullets. Also, knives make way less noise, and they really want to avoid alerting more hunters. When they're escaping to the other building, the Humvee that passes by is one the hunters stole from the Fedra Authority during the uprising. The other cars they've just scavenged from what they could put together across the city, and other supplies that they've stolen from unsuspecting travelers. We meet Melanie Linsky's Kathleen character. She's not from the game. She's like a brand new character
Yeah,
for the
I
show.
knew it. I was
She's
like, I
meant to
don't
be one of the
remember her.
co-leaders of the hunters here in Kansas City with Perry. Their scene basically gives you the backstory of what happened in Kansas City and how the hunters overthrew Fedra, because like Boston and other cities, Fedra were doing terrible things. Like it was just generally a terrible existence for everyone. While they were still under Fedra authority, it sounds like the Fedra military captured her brother and tortured him because of something that he was doing. And she's after Henry and Sam because Henry gave up the location of her brother to Fedra. Henry and Sam, huge characters from the games, they changed their story a little. I'll talk about that when we get to their part of the episode. On the show, though, the idea is that Fedra would have threatened Sam's life, and Henry's whole thing, like his whole reason for existence, as Joel says, protecting his brother Tommy, is to protect Sam, his younger brother. So he would have had no problem giving up Kathleen's brother to protect his little brother. And in the wake of her brother's death, Kathleen is just looking for revenge on Henry and just going to crazy lengths to get it. One of the reasons why I think they added her in the show is just to build out the Hunter storyline. Like there's this whole side storyline where they change Henry and Sam's backstory just so that more is going on during this big Kansas City Hunters encounter. In the game, it was a little bit simpler, but it was the same basic
Yeah, I was
premise.
gonna say it was a
Whole
little
bunch
bit
of
different
hunters
from the
in
video
the
game.
city, they have to make it through
Just
the
a
city.
little bit.
They also want to use Kathleen as a more complicated kind of antagonist. She's somewhat justified in wanting revenge for her brother, but what she does goes so over the line, she becomes a villain. So it's not so much like a Negan Walking Dead
No, she'll
situation
never
where he
become
just
Negan.
loves power for power's sake.
I love Negan.
That's why later when she and Perry find one of Henry and Sam's hiding spots, she pauses for a second when she sees all of Sam's drawings. She wavers a little because he's just a little kid, and in the moment she kind of understands the complexity of what Henry did. Like, oh, he wanted to protect his family, like I care about my family. Only for a second though, then she snaps back to cold hard revenge. The Hunters generally are meant to be a much darker mirror to the Fireflies as well. Like, the Fireflies still do bad things, like I said, but they're saints compared to the Hunters. Generally, you're just meant to understand
Wouldn't go that
why
far.
Kathleen's doing this, where she's coming from, but it's all still meant to be terrible. She's still meant to have gone a little bit nuts. During her conversation with the doctor, we learned she was originally from Kansas City before the fungus. He was her family doctor who delivered her in a local hospital, and showing you how cold she's gotten. When she doesn't hesitate to kill him after he's no longer of immediate use to her, even though it's not like doctors are falling off of trees in the apocalypse. Probably want to keep as many of those around as you can.
Right?
When she's spitballing on Joel and Ellie, assuming that they're mercenaries that Henry and Sam hired, it sounds like she almost believes that. I don't think she's totally lying here. Like, she's exaggerating a little bit and using that as an excuse to ratchet up their tactics around the city. When we go back to Joel and Ellie hiding in a nearby business, on the newspaper outside, there's an article about hiding. There's articles on the other newspapers all over the inside about the immediate aftermath of that night in 2003 when the military rolled out around the country to deal with the fungus for the first time. One of the other differences from the game, too, during this part of the story, originally they were trying to get across the bridge in Pittsburgh to escape the city. This time on the show, the hunters are still guarding all the exits from the city on the other side, but it's not the bridge. The scene of Joel and Ellie bonding where he teaches her how to use the gun properly, also right out of the game, it just happens in a slightly different place in the game. She starts to reveal her backstory a little more when she says this wasn't her first time killing someone. That's Riley she's talking about. We'll see more of that in future episodes, but right now she's still too traumatized by what happened with Riley to completely talk about it. It's the same thing with Joel, like they're slowly opening up to each other about their histories, continuing to bond as father and daughter. You notice Sam's drawings on the walls depict their history living in Kansas City under the Fedra authority, like he has drawings of his brother Henry fighting Fedra soldiers and blowing up their gear. Depictions of them as superheroes, like the one she picks up of them wearing the superhero suits, which Sam is wearing at the end of the episode, like the mask he's wearing when he has the gun on Joel.
I want to say mask.
When they go to the
paint.
basement and comment on the fungus that's shifting beneath the cave-in, this isn't from the game either. I think what they've done is they've taken the big bloater encounter from Bill's in the game earlier and just set up a version of that here. And the thing shifting beneath the floor that Kathleen says that they'll worry about later might be the show's version of a bloater, because it would just have to be way bigger and more powerful than a clicker in order to make the floor shift like this. An early prediction,
I can't wait for that.
Will get out
I
and
think
go on a
that's next
rampage
episode.
by the
Can't wait for
climax
that.
of either next week's episode or just as they're about to escape the city. Like they start fighting the hunters, things get really nuts, and then this giant creature escapes. I don't know how many episodes we're supposed to be in Kansas City for. Maybe just one more episode, maybe two more. Joel and Ellie hiding in the other building and encountering Henry and Sam is also a slightly different version of what happens in the game. In the game, it was just a normal apartment building, and they accidentally ran into them while they were trying to run away.
That's why I say it's only
In
a
the
little bit
episode,
difference.
Henry
They
and
did,
Sam
they
run
did
into
fight
them
each
while
other.
they're sleeping. It's implied
but
that they had also
they
been there in
obviously-
that same
they got
building
along
hiding,
'cause
and
he
just
has a
heard
kid,
them
he has a
enter and
kid.
waited until they fell asleep to sneak past the broken glass. But just like in the game, Sam was the one holding the gun on Joel. And the whole ending of the episode here is huge, not just because of the introduction of Henry and Sam, because they're huge characters from the game. It's a huge step forward in Joel and Ellie's relationship, whereas before, he'd really shown no signs in caring about her backstory or what was going on inside her head or anything like that. Him asking her about the thing that she didn't want to talk about in her past, killing a person, now he's actively interested in learning about her past trauma, this thing, this person that she killed that she doesn't want to talk about. And them sharing the laugh together over more bad puns. Until, obviously, we meet Henry and Sam. Couple differences here. In the game, there's no backstory with Kathleen's brother or giving anyone up. Henry and Sam were also from a different town and just wound up in Pittsburgh, obviously different city than the TV show, where they were trying to escape, just seeking shelter and then trying to get through escaping the hunters. The reason why Henry wanted to escape the hunters in the game is because they just generally didn't like children because they didn't think that they were useful. And he was trying to protect his little brother Sam, so they wanted to get through the blockade that the hunters had on the other side of the city. Without getting into spoilers, I'm expecting their storyline to be very similar to what it was in the game. If you have played the game, please don't post those spoilers in the comments. The song during the ending credits was also a version of Gary Jules' Mad World, which Ellie also plays during The Last of Us 2. Most of the songs that you see in the show are songs that they used in the game, or just original music from the game, like the main theme song.
Okay.
But next week might be the conclusion of the Hunters storyline. Maybe it'll go 3 episodes, we'll see. If you spotted any other Easter eggs or references during the episode that I didn't mention in the video, write them below in the comments. My Last of Us Episode 5 trailer video will post next. They will be posting Episode 5 on Friday because of the Super Bowl a couple days early, so my episode review will post right after that. And I will be doing trailer videos for all the big Super Bowl trailers. Everyone click here for my Last of Us Episode 5 video.
That's pretty much it, what he's basically saying. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see Episode 5, because we're probably gonna see clickers, and then obviously the bloater, the most dangerous one. Once I seen because I did see I don't know if you guys know, if you watch through from when you watch every episode of Last of Us and you get to the very end, they show you like a preview of the next episode. Once I seen the preview of the next episode, and I seen the bloater, I was like, ooh, I wonder how they're gonna tackle this. It's either gonna fight it or they're gonna run away from it. But I can't wait. And plus the design of how it looks really good. I'm so excited. And it comes out tomorrow. Perfect. tomorrow, bet I don't have to wait too much, and I'll either have a video out for Friday, or either tomorrow, or well, it can't be tomorrow because it's gonna be late at around 9 p.m. Most likely Saturday. Then I'll be posting a video. Well, if you enjoyed my reaction, please drop a like, comment, subscribe, post notifications, get all my videos up to date. See you in the next video, and peace.